Welcome to another week of the Buffalo Game Space podcast. I'm Greg Giles.
I'm Pat Kesterson.
John Futscher.
Tom Lembke.
Jessica Fawn.
And we're going to talk about video games. And what?
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Stone Cold Steve Austin is on his way. He texted me. Well, he was here and then he left.
Yeah, things were getting a little loopy already.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of stuff going on here recently. We just had a jam this past weekend where we made 8 games in 48 hours to the theme of the Wild West. Lots of cool stuff. It'll be going up on our itch page soon. We've already spoken about it in a previous episode, so I don't want to belabor the point too much, but keep an eye out for all the stuff coming out of that. I think some really cool things came out, and we're going to polish up a few of them to showcase here soon. So outside of that, I know people have some things to say about big games they've been playing recently, and maybe if they haven't been playing them for a while.
Yeah, well, Jess was mentioning that she still plays World of Warcraft, which is something I used to play a lot and hadn't thought about in a while, so I guess I'm just wondering what that game is like these days.
Legion, the newest expansion, is actually being released in August. Right now,
Right.
I'm raiding 3 days a week. Mythic tier, which is the highest tier you can do right now, but it's also been the same content for, wow. I was like, for 14 months we've had the same content. So what is mostly happening with the game right now is they release almost everything at once, and then they lose a lot of player base for the last year of the expansion, and then they get everybody back, and login servers are held for the release.
Yeah. But it seems like everybody's pretty used to that routine at this point.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I was talking to my stepbrother about it, and he was saying, like, he does that, like, he just knows that that's the cycle for him now, right?
You expect it. Exactly. You just do. And it's not as bad as the old releases where the servers would actually crash. It's just you get in there and you have a login queue for the extremely populated servers.
Right.
But a lot of us will transfer to low pop servers specifically for release at this point.
But doesn't that cost money? It used to.
It does. It costs $25 to transfer your character, which is insane.
Yeah.
But
do you do it individually, or do you just, like, your guild do it to get
We
out
do it individually because a guild transfer is unbelievable. It's like $150 to transfer a guild.
Really?
It's unbelievable.
Well, that's like a newish thing. I've never heard that you could even do that.
Yeah, you couldn't before. So
Yeah,
it is a newish thing. It's just because it transfers all of the guild's bank contents and all of their gold.
Anybody in the guild get transferred?
No.
Right, just
the guild master.
Yeah.
The guild master does get transferred.
The guild master. Yeah, that's weird. Seems like they could just give all that shit to the guild master. He could transfer for $25 and start a new guild.
That would be too convenient.
Yeah.
And it's just because you get thousands of guild bank spaces as opposed to the bank spaces you get on a specific character.
That's true. You get a lot more, and it is like very valuable stuff.
You're also able to carry over, I think, a max of 1 million gold, whereas on an individual tune you can only bring over 250,000 game currency. For those who aren't totally familiar with the game,
And also that currency inflates with every expansion, so like
it does.
I remember in vanilla, if you had 100 gold, that was ridiculous.
Oh, getting your epic mount was like what, 250 or something, and it was just unbelievably difficult.
I don't remember. It was really hard.
I remember it being an accomplishment just to get your epic riding mount, and now it's nothing. Now you basically get flying and everything for free.
Well, yeah, that's the other. Yeah, everything gets devalued every expansion.
Yeah,
it seems
it does. There's always a number crunch with everything, including health and damage, and
which is always interesting when you start with every expansion. You go to the next zone, and your best gear from the last one is like the worst gear in the new zone, and
they have to do that to kind of still have that carrot out there.
Yeah,
like if they release stuff where it's like, hey, we've got all this new content, guess what? All the drops in the new content are worse than your old stuff. People would be like, well, I don't care.
I don't want to.
The problem is that for people like I went full out for this expansion, so I've been raiding every week, and I've gone up to mythic tier, so they have to make it just as easy for people of my item level or my gear level to level as people who have not raided at all this expansion. Yeah. Which, it's a difficult balance, I'm sure, because I can one-shot things, whereas people that just leveled up can barely survive,
Right. And there's also a difference, like, just because you're raiding doesn't mean you're successful at it. Like, actually, usually there was a lot of times I raided in WoW And
if you beat your head against the wall enough, sometimes it just works out for you.
yeah, right. Well, yeah, you can just, yeah, exactly. Like, just do, like, disaster pickup raids, like, over and over, and that's about as crapshoot as it gets. But the other thing is, like, I don't know if it's like it used to be in raiding, but your guild actually has to be good and work together really well. Yeah. So it's not even enough to go with, like, the people. You guys have to know what you're doing.
That's what they did with Mythic Tier, because you can do heroic, and because now they have looking for raid, which is your baseline that you just all of them are pickup groups.
Yeah.
And then you have normal, which is they add a few mechanics. Heroic, which is much more difficult. You need more organization and a better gear level, and then Mythic, which is you need organization, communication, you need an actual guild to do it. You can't just take randoms in with you.
Yeah.
And you know, we're still only, there's 13 bosses when we've only killed 11 of them.
Exactly.
And
so,
we've been farming.
And you said this expansion's a year and a half, right?
Yeah.
So that's, like, kind of why it does make sense.
And we started on Mythic content a little bit late, but not that late. And you know, we've been beating our heads against the same boss for 3 weeks now. So
and so the way it works, right, is they have their Tuesday maintenance, and then from starting then you get a week basically before it resets.
Yes, and you can extend a raid blackout though. So
you can do that now?
Yeah, you can do that now. Okay. So if you end up somewhere that you're happy with, yes.
Oh, interesting.
So if you end up at a boss that you want to just keep working on, which we don't do that because there's still people in the raid that need more gear from other ones.
Right, because it locks you out. Like if the thing is that you get saved to that, so you can't you can't go back in with a different group. It's like you're with that group and that's the raid. So if you do perpetuate it, that keeps you from doing it any other way, right?
Yeah.
So you guys have been doing that for about a year? You've been in this heroic?
This Mythic...
Mythic.
Mythic has been for...
Tier's right.
Well, no, Mythic has been for about 4 months, maybe. It's been around for longer than that.
Right. And so is Mythic... How many people is that?
That is 20 people. No.
And then is Mythic always 20 people?
Mythic is always 20 people. That's the difference now, too, is that there's flex raids where if you go in a heroic, you can have 10 people, you can have 15 people, and the boss's health and the power of the mobs scales with the number of people in the raid, and also loot drops. The number of loot drops, everything scales. Probably. Yeah. No, the quality stays the same, but it's just the number of drops that
that makes sense,
affected.
Right? Yeah,
it does.
That seems fair, because sometimes, you know, that was always a thing, like, starting a guild's really hard, because when you have these, like, 20-man raids, everybody wants to do the 20, or it used to be, like, I think in Burning Crusade, it was, like, in Kesterson, like, if you didn't do, like, I think the quality was affected by the size of the raid.
In Kesterson, it was always 10.
It was always 10?
Kesterson was always 10. In Burning Crusade was like my first like all out, because I played in vanilla, but I wasn't serious about raiding at all. I got to see some raid content, but I didn't care about it very much. Burning Crusade, I was a main tank for a Chinese guild, and we raided, I swear to God, every day of the week. It was insane.
Were you on a Chinese server?
No, but almost nobody in the guild spoke English enough for me to understand what I was supposed to do, and it was back when you all watched raid videos, and, you know, like, you had to know what you were doing, so we just kind of did things. But no, Kesterson was always 10. Then you know, go into like Serpent Shrine Cavern, that was always 25, and Black Temple and whatnot.
Never got that far. There were so many big raids then.
Oh yeah, the amount of content they used to release was amazing, and that's why they kept players around for so long. But now, this expansion has only been 3 raids, and people have just been dropping like flies. I was on a lower population server, and it became impossible for us to get enough people for Mythic Raid, which is only 20 people, so we all had to transfer to a higher population server.
Yeah, I've been there, and that's like a thing. Like WoW's not. They always keep these low pop servers around, and especially for new people, it's such a bummer, because sometimes I remember I was on a low pop server. It was hard sometimes to even get a 5-man.
And they've started they do cross realm now, so you can get cross realm groups, and they've also merged a lot of them. So I was on a server called Alteric Mountains, which is a PvP server. Yeah. They merged that server with 5 additional servers, and the population was still not adequate enough.
Really?
To create more groups. There were 2 guilds on either server that was doing any progression whatsoever, and one transferred off, and that was it. They were all gone. So it was a struggle with that.
But it's like the only game like that I can think of right now. Like, there's no other MMO that has WoW style raiding, you know? And
from the outside looking in, it sounds crazy. Just even trying to put people together to actually make anything happen.
It's like running. It's almost like hiring for a company.
It is. You have applications for guilds, and you have to have. Sometimes you even have to have like a. You know, you have to have someone to vouch for you. You have to have references, or your old guild master has to still be on good terms with you, and like they really take it seriously.
Because it's a pain in the ass when you just get like, because it only takes one person to fuck up a raid. Like, you can take one person doing the wrong thing at the wrong time can kill everybody, and everybody dies. Everybody's got to run back. Somebody goes to the bathroom, and you're all waiting for this guy to come back. You know what I mean?
Someone's always AFK.
Yeah. So
bathroom
and bad habits, and it's also, you know, you get one person that's just an asshole and ruins it for everybody. So you've got to figure that out too. Now the group I've been raiding with we've been raiding together for 2 years. So there's actually 6 of us that have been together for the whole time. So we kind of lucked out because we have 2 tanks.
That's awesome.
We have, you know, and I was tanking, but I just kind of went down to a damaging class for this expansion, well, for this tier of rating, really, just for the group, really.
Yeah. That's nice when you can do it, because usually if you're a tank or a healer, if you're a class that can tank or heal, when I find that's just what I do, because it's always like that's what everybody needs, and I can never DPS, so DPSing is nice.
Well, for this one, we had 2 real-life friends that were tanks together, so we have our main tank, our off-tank, and this guild needed a main tank, an off-tank, and a couple of DPS sprinkled in there, and 1 healer, and we were able to just merge into them perfectly, because that's exactly what we had. One of the people that damaged with us happens to be a little bit toxic and blew up our old raid and the raid before that. So we're trying to keep him a little bit more at bay.
Story.
Oh man. All right.
Do you know him personally, or is this over the internet?
I know him personally and over the internet.
Okay.
Like he's not locally. No,
okay.
It's not like
he's not going to listen to this.
No, he won't. Right.
No,
and even if he did, it's not like he doesn't know that he's an asshole. I would say all of it
Yep,
to
I
his.
did do that.
So he would say it, and he would be proud of it. So he's that
he's
guy.
one of those.
Yeah, he's that guy. So we were in this old raid, and he complained constantly about the other players and their ability and their lack of talent.
Like he never made a mistake.
Like, he dies on every pull constantly. He's a mage, he's really squishy, and he just stands and everything because he's like, well, the healers should make up for it. Yeah. And he does really great damage.
But the tank should be tanking.
But I do have to mention he's always number 2 after me.
Of course.
I always rub it in his face too because he's just
number 2. Yeah.
I do call him number 2 actually. I'm always like, stay small, number 2. And he gets a little bit tilted about that, but I really don't care.
Based on what I know about this guy already, that doesn't sound like him.
Our old he was a raid leader for a little while, and when we joined this new raid, he didn't want to be under this other raid leader. And granted, this other raid leader was kind of spazzy, and he a little bit like, he'd get really antsy about if we didn't kill a boss, he'd get all pissy and rude and stuff. And like, it's a game. I don't care if we wipe on a boss 1,000,000 times. It's still the same 3 hours of my life I'd be wasting either way. So
I mean, there's like sometimes that's good. There's like, you know,
that's video games
being hard on you is like a nice motivation sometimes, but it's easily
I dismiss it because I expect that nothing's going to go perfectly,
right?
You know, and if you just keep that expectation there, that when you actually kill the boss that you've been trying to kill for weeks, it's that much more exciting.
Yeah.
Well, he said something to him about him not showing up to his own raids and people falling off because he was a piece of shit. And eventually, like, just to make a long story short, the guy was like, you know what? Fuck you. Fuck your guild. Fuck all of you. Disbanded the raid. Left his own guild. And never came back. And that's
And
not
then
the
he
first
went and
time.
started a family, got a job.
Then he started to have a life.
He's doing really well right
But,
Forbes 500.
but he talked to me recently, actually, and he was, he just acted like nothing happened. But, we still have to keep that guy at bay because he's just got a mouth on him, and he talks to the
When you
raid
say
leaders.
keep him at bay, is he's not still in the guild?
He's
is?
still within our group,
Yeah.
and he's in our new guild with us. But he has no filter, and he has no... I don't know what word I'm looking for, but basically he
Common sense.
never shuts up, and he doesn't care about what he's actually saying.
That's a great combo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all that to say, I guess rating's hard. It really is.
It sounds like an ordeal.
It really is.
It's-
It's hard to believe it actually. And when it started, rating was 40 man in WoW.
And
you
it-
had to have 40.
And on each server. So you had to find 40 people on one server
Yeah, there
that
was no
meshed
crossover.
well,
Yeah.
that had skill, and that were able to, stomach wiping on a boss 100 times.
Can you imagine getting 40 people to stand in one spot, like on the internet?
To coordinate it all.
Yeah,
It's gotta be-
crazy.
It's one of those things. It sounds so horrific to set up and coordinate and deal with people, and not only just
Yeah.
deal with people, but deal with people on the internet.
Right.
But they have because there's a common goal. Like, it's got to be really. There's nothing else like it when you actually pull it off.
Eventually,
I mean,
when you
it's an
get
innate thing for sure,
it is, and when you get the right people together, the raid can drive itself. As long as you have a solid group, that you have the right synergy. When your main tank and off tank work together really well, when your healers all pay attention to what all of them are doing, when people start being proactive, then it runs smooth. But it is like a machine. It's insane how raiding works, and lost it.
I just remember when Honest Trailers did their World of Warcraft episode, which was phenomenal. The one thing they said about ratings that it needs more cooperating nerds in the space program. And that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does, and there's also there's raid leaders that eventually you just have to be brutal. Once you played for a while, you eventually people will say you're elitist or rude or whatever.
Cynicism kicks in.
And eventually because I raid led in BC for a little while. And in Wrath of the Lich King, and eventually you have to get to the point where you're like, look, if you're bad, I'm going to kick you, and that's all I could that's all I could say about it. No arguing. If you're not going to correct it, then I don't know what to tell you. Correct it and come back.
It totally makes sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense for everybody else to stand by while you get it right.
Yeah.
And that's in
fair.
most games, period.
Yeah, it really is.
Where if you have one dude that's really dragging you down,
Oh man,
I've played with a
Dota,
couple.
I will say the worst shit I've ever.
Oh my god,
to you
yeah.
If you're not keeping up.
And I haven't really played
Really,
Dota. But
Dota's got a toxic community.
What?
It's the best kept secret of Dota.
MOBAs in general.
It's the brief time I played LOL back in freshman year because most of my roommates did. Oh my god. My one roommate, he was a nice guy, quiet, but Jesus, the second that game started, he would just, there's just the rage.
I've gotten down on League of Legends, and I'm glad that I played PvP servers on WoW before getting on League of Legends, because
So you're prepared?
Yeah, that community is just cutthroat. I mostly just ignore it now, or I troll them, and that makes me feel good too.
That's really the way to go.
That's the proper response.
Because then it's like, oh, you have a problem? I'm going to follow you all over the map and do nothing.
Yeah, I've done that for sure.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Hey everybody, he's over here. Hey everybody.
Or just run yourself into the enemy team.
So what did you have for lunch today? Oh, that's great. Me too. It was awesome.
Or if they start yelling at you about something you're not doing, you just act like, what is that?
Yeah. I've never played this game before.
This is the first time. You're ranked 37. What? How did that happen?
This is my brother's account.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Ridiculous stuff.
But yeah, so when I've been playing. I know that Kesterson, you play a lot of the Division, and you just said you've been playing it too. And so when I play the Division, I mostly think about WoW because it makes me think about how far technology has come, that because WoW is almost like turn-based in its combat. It's just like these long timers and
tab targeting, and you just have to sit there and wait. It's very predictable. And it's,
which is good in some ways, but I think at this point, to me, feels like just kind of old. And Destiny is sort of like that system on steroids of like the party system and the grouping and the raids and stuff like that.
No, not the raid stuff. Raid stuff, or at least for getting groups, is atrocious.
Raid stuff I have not done.
Well, I'm
yet
talking about gameplay though.
Oh, gameplay-wise, yes, but
like it's just that like sped up and like just these super fast like real-time events that you just don't get in WoW, which is kind of interesting.
Raids are a dance for sure. Like just figuring out.
What are the raids like in that game? I have no idea.
Destiny?
Destiny?
Yeah. Or sorry, I meant the Division. Sorry.
Incursion is not a raid, and it is nowhere even close. Like, it is technically, for right now, it's filling that role.
Yeah.
But there's... we put the beer down.
Gear up for this.
So they've got 5 big updates lined up from launch, one a month. They've put out 1.1, and then 1.2 is coming in May. These 2 are free. The next 3 are actually paid DLC expansions.
Right.
Did
they say how much yet?
They put out the season pass, which is like $25-$30. But so I mean, you can try to like gauge a little bit from that. But when they updated 1.1, that actually did add a shit ton. So it sounds like it's actually legitimately worth the money. And that was free too, so I can only imagine they're doing more. But the incursions, it has like right now it's a raid mechanic in that they don't tell you what exactly to do. You're dropped into an area with a difficult boss, and you just have to figure out what to do with your team. And there's stuff in there. How many people
on your team?
So it's always 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, always 4 in that game. But then you have to like figure out what to do, decide. Everybody has their roles. There's stuff that's only in there. Like there's UAVs, so they just don't give a shit about cover. They just fly right over drones and shoot you in the ass, and they can electrocute you, and that sucks. But so it's like it fills that role, but realistically, if you have a decent team, it takes you 45 minutes.
Okay.
And then there's 2 difficulties.
For the whole thing?
For the whole thing. It's literally like you walk in and you're there.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
That being said, they've said that there's going to be a minimum of 1 for each one, and this was a free one.
There's going to be a minimum of 1 raid for each expansion.
Correct.
Each patch.
Yeah. Each expansion or update is what they've been kind of calling it, has a minimum of 1.
But they've been doing quarterly updates, haven't they? Or
so we're talking about the Division. I said
Division?
Destiny originally.
Yeah.
Well, they have been like slipping in stuff every now and then, like little things, but not like a core. Like 1.1 changed, like the game. It was like how you would think an expansion does.
Right. I'm just asking because I know it's not like once a year. Because releasing a raid once a year would be terrible.
No, they're doing right now. It's once a month for like the next 5 or 6 months.
Well, that's awesome.
And that's just what they've said. They said that actually before the game came out, which is I appreciate that for once. I like them to be like, yo, this is what's good. We've got lined up for like the next half a year.
If they lay out their itinerary.
There you go.
it makes it a lot more. I think that gives people motivation because then they know to expect new.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I actually bought the season pass for like the first time ever. Like, it was like I actually. Like, oh, this is what it is. I know I'm going to like this game for that long, so okay, sure, fine.
And that's nice. It's just that, like, from a company standpoint, like, even though that's nice, I just can't imagine ever saying that as a company because it's
planning that far ahead.
What if something goes off the rails
and
all of a sudden, people on the internet only need half a reason to go fucking 10 on you.
Oh,
so,
oh my god, that's actually what I was one thing I was
going
to
talk about. That's
talk
happening
about.
in the Division, right?
It is.
Like, yeah.
Well, yeah, but also at this point, just with the speed of news and the demand for content and people expecting to just keep playing games kind of indefinitely, the only way to really keep people is to keep people in the loop. Yeah. And even if putting that news out like loses you a couple of people, you just saved however many more that might
You
go
at least
away.
give people hope for the
Yeah,
future.
exactly. Instead of just being like, oh, well, what's happening with this game? I've completed all the content.
Yeah.
And there's like, I don't know, I haven't heard anything. Well, they might stop playing. But if you're like, hey, a month from now it's on the roadmap, we're releasing more content, you guys should keep playing so you're ready for it when
They
it
put
comes
out the
out.
exact date.
Yeah.
Like
That
when
makes
it's
more
going
sense.
And
to.
sometimes schedules will slip or not, but most companies that develop in the open have some type of roadmap that you can look up and see, you know, at least what they're planning.
Right.
No, it helped them definitely for that particular case. But anyway, to answer your question, it is that role. I only see them getting bigger and better.
Yeah.
To me, this was an experiment to see like how far what they could do with this scenario.
So I'm
and the way it
still
goes.
not 100% clear on the incursion v a raid. I mean, from you say it's 4 people, it's like what is their top tier content? Basically, it's just the hardest mission in the game currently. Like,
For right
what's
now, yes.
special about it?
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's literally
Okay.
you summed it up right there.
Just
Like,
the hard one. Just
it's-
because they all take about 45 minutes, I find.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's just one
Are they,
slugfest.
and are they all like legendary enemies and everything?
Oh yeah,
like
like
that?
they're level 32, and like I think on challenging is 33 and 34.
I'm
Caps to
still-
30 for players, right?
Yeah.
The actual then in that update they introduced gear score.
But level.
Yeah, the actual hard level cap is 30.
Right, yeah, and then there's gear score, which is like a thing that I first saw in WoW as well.
Yeah,
Right.
no, I
Is
was
that like what they did in Destiny as well?
Yes,
Where
Yeah,
exactly.
you
like
cap
your
a
light level.
Which is interesting because that was like a community thing that came out of like, you know, we were saying earlier where it's like applying for a job. That system wasn't in the game. There was like an add-on that did that somebody made and people started using because it wasn't enough to just say I'm a mage that can deal
Yeah.
damage.
And-
You have to have a certain level of gear to, like, even though you're level 60 mage or whatever, like there's more to it. There's a whole gradient beyond the level cap.
And
No,
not
that-
only that, but they have combat logging and things like that now too. So a guild will seriously ask you to give combat logs, which is just that's
This sounds like a business.
It
like
is.
this sounds
It
like
is.
I don't want to.
Most of the things that WoW has added into it have come from add-ons that the community has made for free. Though, like
Exactly.
Outfitter used to help you with your gear sets, and WoW had implemented a system online to do that within the game. Item level became a thing without gear score.
Right.
And you have achievements for every mythic boss you do or whatever now, or for killing a main boss in
So you
a
have to
raid.
prove that you've accomplished
Yeah,
that, right?
you have to link
know
it
the
to
fight
people.
because you downed
yeah,
them,
you
so,
constantly
right.
have to prove yourself in order to get into higher content, and it has gotten a little bit insane.
Yeah,
Well, I
Sounds
mean,
like it's getting kind of out of
It's,
control.
it's kind of
really
hard not to,
does.
though. It's been, what, a
Yeah.
decade at this point?
and
Like,
at the
just-
same point,
Right, exactly. So you just refine it, and like every expansion, they add a couple features, and it's just
Yeah.
now
Right.
at this point, like even what you're telling me, I used to play a lot of WoW, and it's just kind of like
if I came in
really sure I
now,
understand all this.
if I came in now out of nowhere, I lost, especially with my druid, because druids, they have 4 specs, and
They have 4 now.
Yeah, because
Four
Feral,
instead of 3.
you know how there used to be, bear and cat druids, which was
Right.
if you're taking and damaging, but now they're separate,
Right. Okay.
and they don't have.
I mean, they were kind of separate before, but now they're explicitly separate.
Yes,
Okay.
they don't have talent trees anymore. It's totally different.
Right. There's none of that. Yeah, there's so much.
A lot has changed.
Yeah.
And then there's, you think it sounds insane, but then on the same token, you play a game like that, and you're like, if you're playing Destiny, you wouldn't want someone with like no light level coming in with you to.
Oh, yeah. Like, I was in gear score. Like, when they said they're going to put gear score into 1.1 for Division, I was so happy.
Yeah, it really helps you. Like,
yeah, like you can actually see what the hell people actually are. Like, hell, I didn't even know what the hell I actually was. Like, if anything, it's something to tell me where I stand. Because at a certain point, you're like, okay, my gear's good, but I don't know how good.
It's a measure of quality,
Yeah.
and it really helps to get good people in there with you instead of like a few potatoes you're just going to have to keep on reviving.
Me and Jared were starting to run the incursions, like, I kicked at least like 2 or 3 people before it starts. It's like, there's no way in hell.
Yeah.
No, sorry, bro.
Oh, my favorite's the people that just run into the middle.
Oh, yeah, you get
reason.
murked. Hard.
No matter what in that game, the first rule is just to find cover as soon as you possibly can and then start killing things. But then there's people that are like, I'm just going to run and jump over this and stand in the middle of everything.
My favorite is, my particular favorite is the person who just now, like, probably got a good like set of gear. They probably either just beat the actual core game and got to 30, and they're like, yes, I got this. We're in the end game now.
And they're just like, woo!
And they just go like, or like it's specifically on like the daily missions where there's 2 hard and then a challenging. It gives you the high-end coins to buy stuff, and they'll go on to challenging. Like hard at a certain point no longer becomes hard. It's a cakewalk. Challenging can still kick your ass. And there's a certain point where like you'll just see them like probably the first time did challenging, they just did too hard and they're like, we got this. And like bullet straight to the face down, like, and now I'm just sitting there like, oh shit, like, this is gonna be a fun
Could tell
one.
how this is gonna go.
This is gonna be a struggle.
So in challenging, is that something like in challenge modes and other games where it actually kind of scales you down to the characters that you're fighting, or
it scales them up? At no point do you ever get scaled down, no matter where you are in that game, in PvE or PvP, just because that blends together so much in that game. The enemies get the 32 in challenging, so the highest, like the basically hard on the incursion. And then also you don't respawn. So, and hard, if you die, you can crawl around, do the down, but not somebody can pick you up. But then you get like 20 or 30 seconds on that. And then, but then after like a 15, 20 second respawn timer, you're back in. And into the same thing. But whereas in challenging and also the incursion, you do not respawn your ass.
Okay.
You're out until they can go over. Like you have 2 levels of dead, like the crawling around, and then they call it blacked out, but you're dead on the ground, where it takes like a minute to pick you back up.
Yeah.
So like it's a thing. Like if you're down, like you at least for the love of God die and cover. But so like. On the challenging, like I've actually it happened yesterday. All 3 of the guys are down, and I'm like, it's just run to cover and do the thing with your watch, just like for like a minute. Yeah, like where people are like just a sniper.
Is it literally 60 seconds?
Like if you're dead, it takes that long to pick you up.
Holy shit! And then you're getting shot at the whole time.
Oh yeah.
I don't understand. Those guys will rush you. And they will.
At that point,
that's the point. Is that you're not supposed to be able to get. That's supposed to be post combat. Like,
it's supposed to be either that or it's a scatter.
Right. It's like Blitzkrieg, and you're in there with a defibrillator, like
pretty much.
Yeah.
There is.
Can you guys hang on? My buddy's down.
Well, I need to get him back up so we can both shoot at you.
We're gonna shoot at you after.
Time out.
Yeah, time out.
Like
stop shooting! I said time out.
There was one then it becomes like the whole strategic okay, well they kill the dudes with shotguns because they don't give a fuck about cover. They just charge anyway.
Yeah,
okay,
right.
Or like the baseball bats or whatever the hell. Like you try to probably one of my
clean up a bit.
My biggest pet peeves in that game, especially in the incursions, people just go straight to picking you up. Like I appreciate
the guy running at him with the bat, and they
I
just,
appreciate you wanting to get me.
Yeah, but just wait.
But goddamn, dude, give it a second.
Yeah, that's the classic Left 4 Dead, Vermintide, Payday.
That's everything.
Name any co-op game where you can revive
I'm coming to get you.
It's like you have to kill the threat first.
Like the
and I've had
baseball
people
bat's
get
in your
mad
head.
at me in the past, like playing Battlefield. Like I always play as a medic in Battlefield, and like they get killed in the open.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm down. I'm over here. I'm down. I'm like, yeah, I just saw you get shot in the face. If I run out there to get you, I'm going to get shot in the face too.
Yeah.
I got to go kill that guy, and I'll be right back.
People yelling
And
at you.
you kill that guy, and you come running back, and they're like, I respawned. Couldn't wait any longer. It's like,
Oh my
dude,
God.
you're killing me.
That's
Like,
what squad respawns for. Suck it. No, that's a thing that happens. That might be one of the most infuriating things. It's like, dude, just got hell. Yesterday we scrubbed 3 times because of that. Literally, I went down, and apparently I was the anchor on the team. Not bragging, just for that certain scenario it was. And they all 3 of them would rush over to get me. Like, dudes, like a wave literally just started. There's 35 motherfuckers in here with us, and there's 3 of you.
Oh my God.
Just trying to just tone it down a little.
Just making me think the flip side of that, of like somebody dying just outside of my cover in Battlefield, and this has happened several times where it's like, okay, I'm still in cover, I can crawl over and like defib you up, but the guy just killed you, you defib him up, and the guy like pops up and it's like, funk, back down, defib him back up, funk. And then it's just like, all right, dude, stop reviving me. Just let me die. I can't respond.
That's infuriating.
This guy keeps killing me. Just let me die.
It also happened. There's
Hold on 1 second. I'm going to revive you again.
Hold that thought. There's one particular area in one of the missions where there's a sniper boss, and he just fires down, and I was in between cover when I died because somebody threw a grenade, so I was flipping, and he just popped me right in the head. Right, it was a good shot. I'll give him that guy. But the distance to revive, and that is actually pretty nice. Like you could from me and 3, 4, or 5 feet away and still be able to get somebody.
5 feet away from a guy's foot, and you revive.
Pretty much, yeah. And so it's kind of nice. Like a little circle kind of appears, and if you're roughly in that, you're good. And he just picked me up, and I'm like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Oh, bam, down, and it's just like, can you at least kill the guy first? You're just wasting time.
Yep, it happens every time.
People
want to be helpful.
I do like how in the outside world and Division they give you an option for respawn points.
Yeah, in the Dark Zone.
Yeah.
Or I haven't been in the actual overworld in a while, so.
Well, as someone who's leveling still.
Yeah, that is why I haven't been there.
Yeah, well, first of all, as someone who's leveling in Division, I could say it's most fun I've had in a first-person shooter in years.
They nailed it.
It's incredible, and I love Tom Clancy games in general. But honestly, and this is going to sound so lame, Splinter Cell on the GameCube. I loved that game to death.
Splinter Cell was awesome.
It was incredible. You could, the AI was amazing. Things didn't know exactly where you were as soon as you entered a room. You could sit there and silently kill someone without being caught, and you had to be sneaky. And I think that game was incredible. And it's everything I loved about Splinter Cell then, plus all of the advancements in technology now.
They took all of them and wrap them up into one package.
And it's unbelievably good.
The cover system from Ghost Recon, which is still my favorite cover system ever in that perspective. The kind of team mechanics of Rainbow, and then you in the Dark Zone especially, got this was a weekend or two ago. I was going up to an extraction point, and it's on the top of a building, and it's got just a couple places out to get down. There's 2 staircases, a ladder, and a rope that you can slide down. And I was up there getting ready to pull stuff out, so it's a minute and a half I'm waiting, so it's just sitting there and there's rogues around, so it's I'm on pins and needles here. I'm ready. And all of a sudden I just see 2 or 3 dudes walk up, and it's just
they look like they're together.
The second I see more than one person, it's all right, peace, deuces. I hit the rope and go down, and I'm halfway down the rope and just turn rogue simultaneously, and I'm just time to beat feet. And then they were following me down, and I literally ran down the street around the minivan, took cover, and just hood up and just said you can't see me, you can't see me, and they literally just walked right. It was like Jurassic Park when the Velociraptor looks around, looks up and over, and I'm just sitting there this,
standing behind the cook table,
yeah, except it's a freaking minivan, and they literally 2 of them just walked out and I could hear them because they were in world chat, and they're yeah, I get it. He must have gone down one of the alleyways, and I'm my heart's just
That's pretty cool.
No, cool, and that's happened a lot. You actually can quote unquote hide in that game and use stealth. I've absolutely tracked people they were a fucking deer in that game before.
And I'm only level 20 right now, so I haven't gotten up there yet because I was playing a lot of Destiny, but I'll get to that in a little bit. But I've gone in the Dark Zone already, and it was, at lower levels, people are a lot more friendly.
The Dark Zone, and before you hit 30, is actually pretty fun.
It's awesome.
Not that it's not fun now, but it's a different beast.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is, because everyone is a little more cooperative, a little more friendly, a little less to shoot you in the face while you're trying to do an extraction. A little, yeah. I've come across a few groups, but just because you said what you did, it's the same thing. If I see 3 people come up at once, I know that those jerks are playing together, and I know that I'm going to get gibbed, and they're going to get
the conversation is always only one of them. That is every single time, like, that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
But no,
but for the most part, people are like, oh yeah, let's work together and get this extraction point together, and you all are fine because there's enough room for all 3 of you to get your extraction, and then you just go on your merry way. But then all of a sudden you see a skull pop up on your screen, and you're like,
well,
shit.
It's I don't know, now that like everybody's kind of settling in and people have gotten the close to Top Gear, which there's a whole thing, don't let me forget. It kind of started today with the banhammer, but let me finish this. This is actually what I was wanting to talk about today for this game, but like just today, like pretty much there was, and this has happened many times where like if you interact with somebody, like you happen to meet up with them once, and then maybe another time, and like you've both mutually not shot each other, it's basically like somebody's gonna send you an invite to a group, just be like, you seem to be a not shithead. Like, let's you're at least not shooting me on sight. So like, let's roll together. And even if like you're like not in a group, like you'll kind of stick around with each other for a little while and like help each other out. Yeah. And then at some point you'll just be like, peace, sir, and then like go like into the night away from each other. But like,
that's really awesome just to have that
dynamic.
That dynamic come about naturally, because before the game came out, we talked about it on the podcast at one point of like we were worried like what's going to happen when this hits
basing something on human nature.
When this hits, it's a real world air, like what's going to happen, like it's one thing in the beta, what's going to happen when everybody's on these servers? Are they going to find ways to just grief each other? They're just going to hang out outside the spawn zones and cut everybody
That's still
down.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I'm sure that happens a little bit, but it seems like the systems in place generally encourage cooperation more than just griefing people.
They do.
So it gives you the option to grief, but if you have enough people around you, and it seems like it's not as bad as it hasn't become completely toxic and horrible. Right. Nobody wants to deal with it.
It's not League of Legends yet.
Well, until you go on the Reddit. That's in a second.
Well, but, Reddit is
but
so wait, what's going on with the bans? This is something that just started. Like
I'm interested to hear in how people manage to get banned from that game.
Well, so this has been something that's been building up since like maybe a week or 2 into the game, where Ubisoft games are not necessarily known for being the most stable thing in the world. Well, they're not quite Bethesda, but like there's a lot of ways of exploiting, especially since it's their first like truly multiplayer game other than like co-op and Ghost Recon, like small stuff like a holy shit level, which people seem to be forgetting. But a lot, especially in the PC version, shitload of hackers, like just apparently,
and that seems to be the common mode with any PC game.
Exactly.
Really. It's so
usually
easy
when it first comes out.
The thing is, the game is also meant for console. They ported it to PC before, like, because basically people flipped a shit when it was discovered that it was just for console. So that PC version came at least later in the cycle.
I actually wish I played it on console instead of PC.
It's a lot more stable.
I'm sure that it is.
And in general.
Yeah.
Should get it on Xbox One. So the Reddit exploded, and I hate when like you'll see game sites like will basically look to the Reddit to see what the community thinks about the game, and that is every single goddamn article Kotaku or Game Informer or what have you is put out
on the Reddit forum.
Yeah, it's like the community thinks that this sucks, and it's like it's 3 dudes in their parents' basement who thinks it sucks.
Yeah.
And it's always the same goddamn thing on the forum. It's like, well, Massive, I'm gonna leave this game. Like, dude, you've put like 150 hours into the game. Like, it's time for you to leave. Like, it's like there's games like, how do you say that this game sucks if you put that much goddamn time into it? That's a whole other ballgame. But the point is that there was a lot of people explaining, especially when the Incursion came out. Incursion, I don't know why I said it that way. Came out. Long story short, on the PC, Ubisoft's been banning people, or Massive has been banning people for, I think it's 3 days, for hacking, straight up for hacking. Well, about a week ago, they straight up said, if you were caught doing exploits, your ass is grass. And they didn't exactly say what that was until today. They actually put out their article they did a Reddit link and then to their actual website. And it's amazing. It's, first off, they actually explicitly, they talk about the situation and blah, blah, blah. And then they address the one argument, which I'm pretty sure everybody here will be in agreement is true, but everybody got, it...
Forget about them. Why are they banning people?
Oh, no, it's brutal, but it's just, there's, one exploit, especially in a game that's based entirely off of gear. Anything that you can use to exploit to get gear incredibly quickly or faster is brutal to the in-game economy, or, the ethos of everything. So, as of right now, they're going to start, actually making a list of all the known exploits. So, if one pops up, they're going to go, okay, and add it to, the fucking bounty board. And, if you are caught doing this, you will be banned for 2 weeks. A straight 14 days, which that's a very long time in the video game world. Basically, if you do that, you're not coming back to this game. Because 14 days later, odds are you're not going to come back to that.
Because you've already gone through withdrawals and detox.
you've gone through the whole
You've gone through all the stages.
So it's just pretty, and that was 14 days, and they're handling it really hard, which I'm grateful for. Just today, the rogue and count was down hard, and this was 3 hours after this went live. But the fact is that they're actually going to literally make a list of the exploits. So before that goes up on the list, you're okay. Or if it glitches and you happen to go, you're fine. But the second that thing's up there and you get caught for it, you're fucked. And for a console game especially, that's pretty nuts.
Yeah.
All right. So I just want to bring this back around to just kind of ground, because that was a lot of ground covered. So basically the bottom line is they're banning people for exploiting stuff that's able to be done in the game without hacking. That's the bottom line. People have found ways to farm gear or do things faster that are already working in the game based on something that they left in or is glitching.
It's called creative use of game mechanics.
Well, here's the beautiful thing about the article is they actually literally explicitly state what their definition of exploiting is.
And while you're looking up, I do want to say that I'm surprised to not see more problems with boosting in that game. People sitting there and shooting each other and just being because in the Dark Zone, I don't remember what exactly the points are that you get in the Dark Zone, but I mean, I know the main incentive to kill someone else is really just that they have gear that they can drop off of them, but you get Dark Zone points as well.
You get experience.
You get the Dark Zone experience, which only really matters to level 75. Because that's the highest level you need to buy stuff.
But it's still enough incentive, I feel, for someone to sit there and boost. Like in any FPS game, there were people that used to do that even in Black Ops. You'd report people for boosting. Is that people would just sit there in one spot and kill each other over and over again for their KD or whatever. And, yeah, you're shaking your head like, fucking scumbags.
Yeah.
I'm more just who has the time to do this?
I don't know who has the time to do it or organize it or...
People who fucking write forum posts on Reddit.
And say, this game sucks.
That this game sucks. Anyway, but just just kind of drive this point home, they actually literally changed the color of the font for their definition of this is what it is.
What's the definition?
It is, it says bug exploits. What is a bug exploit? An exploit is the act of triggering and use of a bug or glitch to bypass established game rules in order to gain a significant advantage or skip progression steps otherwise necessary. Which is a pretty concise and roundabout way of it.
Yeah, I just don't know that that's fair. Fix the bug.
Yeah,
problem
but I mean...
That's what people that's the instant reaction to, because I saw this crop up a couple of weeks ago. They weren't banning anybody yet, but they were threatening to, because there was one, I didn't read the whole deal, but the short version of it was there was a way to basically backtrack outside a gate holding like a shield, and it lets you respawn right at this boss, and you could just keep killing him over and over again without restarting the mission. So people could just farm the boss drops without having to restart and play through the... So instead of playing the whole mission over, you can just keep playing the boss on repeat.
So then they need to fix the reset mechanic.
Right. So it was a bug that's on their list of bugs to fix, and they're like, yeah, we're going to fix this in the next patch, obviously, but the next patch can't go live for like another 2 weeks, so people basically had 2 more weeks to go do this. But so they were like, we know about it. If you go do this, we're going to potentially ban you. And so I guess today they finally put out the release saying...
Well, not only did they just put that up, but they actually put out the first wave of bans. As in, like, as of this morning, it's started, essentially.
How many people have they banned? Do they give any metrics?
There is no number yet. But as I've said, like, and even on Reddit, people are like, holy shit, like, it's down hard. And, like, it's to the point where it's noticeable. Now, whether or not in the long run, I mean, this is over the first, like, 8 and 9 hours of it, so let's see what it actually does.
I mean, at a certain extent, especially in a game that has, like, an in-game economy and that kind of stuff, I mean, can you trade and sell stuff with other people in the game?
What it is now is that it's not... I want to get, like, full-level trading, but, like, if you and I were doing a mission or a Dark Zone run and we were in the same team, if I picked something up, I could drop it on the ground and give it to you.
Yeah, there's not like an auction house.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and it's only available for people in the team.
But you can't give it to people... You can't give it to randoms.
No.
You can't sell it for loot, like, over and over again.
No.
Like, and the fact that you have $1 million in your little in-game bank account doesn't affect anybody else, because there's no in-game, like, auction house that just devalues everything in the world.
And 99% of the time you want to dismantle everything you pick up anyway. Because
especially
you need,
in the end game.
Yeah, you need the weapon, like, you get weapon parts and things like that out of there, and you need that stuff so bad.
Yeah.
So, there's no real, like, WoW level or Diablo level, like, in-game currency that they can really devalue the whole thing. So people doing this doesn't really affect everybody else.
No. Well, it does when they can get holy shit level gear in the Dark Zone.
They become overpowered.
They become gods.
Yeah.
Like, and it's next to impossible to kill people at that point. Like, if your gear level 220...
So it does matter because there's PvP in this game.
If it was PvE, wouldn't give a shit. Yeah, and I doubt that there'd be this much outcry. But because of that.
But it is an interesting kind of take on the whole thing, because it's their code, right? You know, there's nothing happening that people didn't write their own crack and write their own hack to do something that's not happening. You know, and that's, people getting banned for that is kind of obvious and has been around since the beginning of games. But if you find a way to exploit something and then you share it with other people and then everybody starts doing it, then yeah, that sucks. It's kind of on the company to fix it. I guess in this case, I don't blame them for trying to keep it control.
I feel like both. I like both. Like I'm on both sides. Like the company should fix the bug, and it is really their responsibility. But like also, I don't know.
It's very like all right. I really love the game.
It's like you're being an asshole.
I'm kind of that's like when they actually said like they used the punish word. And I hate people who are like that, like who are doing the exploits and had the gear. And I'm like,
it's something. I feel like it's something they could easily control, because if you look at a game like Destiny with Crucible and the way that they scale gear, like it doesn't matter. I was doing Crucible when I was level 15 in Destiny against level 40s, and it was fine because everyone has the same crap. You know, like you.
Generally,
it scales you.
It scales you exactly, and maybe when you get to higher level areas, that kind of scaling is necessary. So it's based off of skill instead of you just having a douchebag eye level and or item level in comparison to everyone else.
Douchebag eye level.
Yeah.
Douchebag.
It's a new kind of gear system. Scaling up to douchebag.
Number of pop collars.
consecutive. No.
I mean, this is
backwards
what they're doing, though.
collars.
Blizzard runs while they'll ban people for doing stuff like that, and they have for always.
That's the thing that
I've
really...
gotten a temp ban for being on top of a roof I wasn't supposed to because I did wall jumping hacks.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
that's the thing about this game that's really kind of surprised me is like in the end I'm actually like more for it than against it.
Yeah.
2 weeks is pretty intense, but I mean, okay.
At the end of the day, it's also not a lifetime ban.
Yeah,
it's not like,
really nice of them, really.
It's actually they could just be like, we're killing your account. You have to start over.
They did state that it's only a 2-strike thing. Yeah. So 1 strike, 2 weeks, 2 strike, you're done.
That's nicer than they have to be, really.
This is true.
Some games immediately go to a 3-month ban for items like that. So,
but the thing with Division is like, and people are getting their fucking shit all tied up, is like literally it's just because it's a third-person shooter. If it was like a straight up like quote-unquote classic RPG like Knights of the Old Republic or World of Warcraft, nobody would bat an eye at this. But because it has a different wrapper...
Eyes would be batted, but this game has more eyes on it right now.
Yeah.
Because it drew in a crowd that is not...
used to this.
It drew... I mean, to their credit, the Division has drawn in a crowd of what I'll just call Call of Duty players into RPG.
yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, the Division is an RPG that has shooting mechanics as the combat, and as opposed to the other way around, where Call of Duty is a shooter that has some leveling elements.
And to be fair, if any class changes are made in WoW in the smallest amount, people's eyes roll in the back of their heads immediately.
Well, no, that's like that's like a actual like a mechanic change, whereas this is like, once again, like you were up on a roof, but like it didn't like. That's I don't want to say that's...
That was me exploiting for PvP, so I was getting in trouble for
that's literally
because I was healing my teammates from a roof that other people could not get up to.
Heal.
That was definitely... We were in an alliance town. I was Horde, my friends were Horde, and I was healing all of them from somewhere that I could not get killed from. So yes, it was warranted that a game master contacted me and said, "Hello, Dennison, will you please get off of the roof you're standing on?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, I made it up here." And they were like, "Well, we're gonna have to disconnect."
But it's in the game. But I was able to do this in the game. Well, it's our game.
I was like, I creatively use game mechanics to get here.
That's the thing that people always have the.
It's in the game.
Whose game is it? You know, once it goes into the public, like people's like, "What's our game?" It's like, "Well, I'm playing it. Like it's my character in your game." Well, who gets to control that?
And no matter how many times they fix it, you're still going to find a way to exploit it. I can still get under the map. I can still get under Karazhan. I can still get under...
There's no way to get rid of bugs, and especially when you have a giant player base. Like with the Division being as big as it is right now, these things are
literally stated that.
It's always going to keep happening. And what this is going to... The number one thing this is going to happen in the short term is it's going to drive these exploits underground to the point where they're not going to be posting them on Reddit anymore. They're going to be on some other weird, obscure subforum. There's going to be a little community that pops up around these freaking farming exploits. and the companies, at the end of the day, the company's going to have metrics, and they're going to see people that, like, you know, hyper level. Like, they could see, like, if you gained 10 levels in 20 minutes, then you're not playing the game. And so those kind of things. Now, the problem is they've kind of come out and said that if it's not on the list, we're not going to ban you. So you pretty much, it's fair game.
You get one free.
It's fair game until they find out what you did, and then it goes on the list, and then you have to stop. So there's going to be a community of people that pops up around, basically finding the next exploit, using it until it's on the list, and then now find a new one.
But that being said, that's at that point is a typical game.
I'm not saying this is anything new.
So it's just kind of beating it
new
down
to a lot of people. The fact that they're doing something as opposed to just letting it happen. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is obviously when Destiny launched, the freaking loot caves.
I did loot cave.
I mean, I loot caved myself. And just because it was such a dramatic difference. It was boring as hell, but that boring half an hour I spent shooting into a hole got me more crap than spending a boring 5 hours would have done, because I had already played all the content. I mean, at that point, it wasn't even top level or anything, but...
I just ignored that we had Destiny in the house until like a month ago, so I was after loot caves. Right now, it's not like that.
No, people would always find new ones, but then they become more and more elaborate, and at a certain point, they become not really worth it.
What is the loot cave? I mean, I've heard it so many
basically, what had happened when Destiny launched, I'm going to shorten this down as much as humanly possible. There was a mission that once you got to a certain point, there's spawn points in the game where enemies come crawling out of or whatever, and so there's caves and rooms and stuff where enemies will randomly spawn.
You're walking around outside, and there's a hole in a cliff, and they've like 10 guys run out.
Right, so that's just
you can't go in.
That's just the way the mission plays.
Right.
When you play that mission, guys spawn there.
Yeah.
And somebody figured out very early on that if you kill them and you maintain a certain distance from the cave,
one specific
spawn?
cave.
Yeah, it's one specific cave because basically, to go under the hood of how kind of games, like any game really works like this, even in a giant game like this, they're not beyond having basic triggering mechanics that
cave has its own specific identity.
And that cave has its own specific thing. These are the enemies they spawn. These are their potential like percentage for drops. This is when they spawn when you reach this area.
Yeah.
And this was in kind of an open area leading into one of the missions. And the trigger, which is just an invisible, tripwire that you cross once you move past a certain point.
Right.
Is within view of the cave. So you can be behind it and still see the cave. So somebody figured out. And so once you basically,
and it was all on a timer
to be more clear, when you cross the trigger, it stops spawning enemies because the enemies were already there. But if you're far enough away, it keeps spawning them to keep that area populated with enemies, so it's not just a dead zone. But you could see the cave from far enough away that you were not triggering this bounding box. So you could kill these enemies, and 30 seconds later, another swarm of 12 of them would spawn, like right after that. Mm-hmm. So people basically would just post up with long-range weapons and rocket launchers and stuff just beyond this boundary. There was like this one rock that was like the boundary, and just pound this cave over and over as enemies just kept spawning, and you'd see all these little drops popping up or whatever. Yep. And after you did that enough, and everybody had to basically once everybody ran out of ammo, everybody would run up and pick up all the drops.
And then since your gear scales with light level,
and you could pick up all your drops, and you'd run back to behind the rock, and they'd start spawning again. Yep. and hopefully enemies would drop ammo too. So you pick up all your ammo, pick up all your gear, and you'd run back to it. Over. And it turned into this funny thing where it was this funny little dance where like one person would be like standing in the cave like checking their gear that they just picked up or whatever, and everybody like, get behind this guy. He's screwing up the spawn. Because if one person crosses the firing line, they don't spawn.
Yeah.
So the one guy, and people would start trolling people and be like, huh? It's like stand in front of the rock and just like wave at the group and like start dancing like in front of the cave. People like, oh god damn it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the bottom line is, it was boring as hell. You're basically shooting into a black hole until you ran out of ammo, and then you'd run in, pick up all the crap, and then rinse and repeat. But within, a half an hour of doing this, you could pick up, 50 freaking item drops of guns and armor and all this crap. And even if you break it all down, you just got a ton of loot and gear and all that, and like materials and shit. By doing this, and I did it myself just because of how effective it was, and it was like. But it got to a point where I couldn't convince my friends to play a mission. I was like, yeah, this is cool. Let's go do a run. They're like, yeah, well, we could do a run, or I could just stand in front of the loot cave and friggin' level up.
What the fuck? That.
And I was like, well, now...
Why are you even playing this game?
Exactly. That is the thing. And I feel like the loot cave is just like the perfect, like, just microcosm, just crunched it down into a diamond.
Great metaphor.
It's just, to put the pressure, it just collapses it down into the tiniest way it could be.
It's just like the pure heroin.
You just unconcentrated gear, like just right into your veins. Yeah. Just fire right into your veins, and but it's devoid of any of the gameplay. Like there's no dance, there's no jumping and shooting and stabbing and using your skills and playing with your team. It's literally just
you on the couch.
It's just you on the couch. It's like, I just got 3 purple drops. I'm gonna get 3 more. Hold on, one more. Hold on, dinner's ready. One more run. One more. I got enough ammo. I'll just do one more set of spawns. And because it became that one more set of spawns, and it became that thing where it's like, all right, like this is cool and all. Like, do you guys want to like run a mission before I go to bed? And they're like, nah, I'm just gonna sit here for a little while longer and farm some more shit, because everybody knew it was kind of gonna go away at some point. But they
openly stated like, yeah.
But literally, it wasn't because they knew it was gonna go away. It was limited time to get your stuff. It was the min-maxing argument. You couldn't. It was like, yeah, we could go do that and have fun playing the game, but then I'd only get one drop.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to stand here.
That immediately makes the game uninteresting.
It was super boring. It was literally the most boring thing you could do in that game.
But at this point, it's I realized at some point, like,
you need
I'm
the
not
challenge.
even playing the game. Like, this is
one of the
bullshit.
one of the exploits for Division, the encouragement.
And we would say all this while we were shooting into the hole, getting that intravenous drip.
We're so much better than this.
This is so boring. One more round, one more round.
One of the things for Division is you could
one more round.
You could use the wall thing, the shield, to get through a wall. And if you did it right, none of the enemies would shoot at you. You could literally just walk up to the APC, which is the boss, and literally just fire at it with explosives. One guy wanted to do this, and it typically takes because there's so much fucking health on this thing.
So like a Bethesda game.
Yeah, but there's so much health on this thing. Doing that takes like 35, 40 minutes. And this one guy wanted to do it, and it's like, how long would it take us to actually do this? About 45 minutes. So either I stand here doing this, not doing anything. I literally don't even have to be looking at the TV. Or I could actually play the game, literally do the exact same thing, and actually be playing the fucking game.
Yeah.
And be doing stuff. But we can just like, no. No. Just, I like actually doing things. Like, I can, like, if it took 5 minutes, but really, what are you saving?
I get disappointed when I find mechanics like that, and I seem to find these exploits by accident all the time. And like Bethesda games especially, I love Bethesda games, don't get me wrong, but my first encounter with a Deathclaw, which is in Fallout 4, and one of the hardest enemies, especially when you're lower level, they get a lot easier after time. But my first encounter with one, of course, you have crap gear. He was stuck in an invisible pit in the road. Not even chasing me. I had to look for him because I knew that he was going to be there. And like the music.
I know exactly where this is going.
And the music and everything. And then
you're just like, yep. All right, he's coming, right?
Yeah.
Like, all right, I'll just wait for him.
I'm looking around, and eventually I jump off the top of the building, and I'm running up and down the streets, and I see his stupid little head popping up from the street, and he's all glitched out.
Yep.
So I stand there next to him, and of course, he's not even trying to attack me.
It's almost sad.
It is, and I just had to put him out of his misery.
Yeah, you're a powerful creature. I'm just gonna cheese you to death.
Yeah. No, it's like, why would, like, no, it's just for that particular guy. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Why are you playing this?
And then the rest of the time you can glitch. In Fallout 4, you can glitch almost any enemy, really, if you just know how to dance.
Yeah.
This is a thing that happens in Dark Souls once in a while, but... Like
I've heard that happens a lot.
That game is made out of cheese.
People cheese things into cheese things into just weird geometry and get things stuck, and then shoot them with arrows forever until they die.
Yeah, and I mean sometimes I do that, but usually it's like it's the exact thing where it's like this game is about overcoming. What do you get? What are you doing? You're just gonna. You're not. There's just no there's no point. Like
if in real life I had to fight a dragon, I'd cheese him into a doorway.
Absolutely.
Just before I forget about it, I think my favorite it was with a Deathclaw again in Fallout 4. This is actually after I not hit max level because there isn't one, but whenever I had a lot of gear, I had come up to like 3 different Deathclaws in one group. Something happened, I don't know what, they shot up into the air, and then they all died from fall damage.
That's just
And I was just like...
That's just funny.
Right. It was hilarious. It was hilarious. Of course, immediately, I played it on Xbox, so it was just immediately like, Xbox record that. And was like, I'm never going to see anything that good again.
Yeah, there's a difference between like exploits and just glitches. Or especially where a fucking Deathclaw rockets into the stratosphere.
He did. Like, I didn't even see him. He just shot up out of nowhere. I was like...
Shooting up into the thing, that's one thing, but I definitely had one zone I went to that had a bunch of raiders in it, and there's like a multi-tier like building, you're kind of fighting them, and I'm creeping around on the bottom, and I pop up to, use my sneak attack on the first guy, getting ready, just like, I see all the people walking around up top.
Yeah.
And I shoot the dude, and they all go loud, and they all start running, and there's 4 of them up there, and like 3 of them fell off the floor, like fell off the level, and just like fell down into the center of the thing. It's like crunch.
I know the area.
And they all just died, and I was just like, yeah, and same thing. I was like, record that. Played it back a couple times, just watching these guys like splat. Yes. Like, that's actually pretty great. Like, that's right. I'm just that intimidating. They knew what was coming. Like, they saw my gun. They knew what was about to happen.
Oh, shoot, that guy.
He's got a gun. Quick, drop your guns.
And then you go to your settlements and you have Brahmin on your roofs. That's
also that when you go to your
one.
settlements, you're like, hey, settlement needs your help. Fuck you, Preston.
Take care of it yourself.
What are you doing here, Preston?
How are there even any more settlements? Like
a new settlement needs your help. I literally just helped that settlement. I was like just there. It's this settlement we're standing in.
Preston has some sort of screwed up Macho Man costume on in my settlement, and he's tending to the bushes. So.
You just made him stand in the corner.
I have no idea how I have him in an outfit that I do, but I put him in a piece of gear and he is basically naked except for like these little tighty whities, and I'm like, this is perfect.
Yeah, Preston what to wear.
You put stuff in their inventory. Yeah, you put stuff in their inventory. I've got people with like cool man glasses on my artillery.
I accidentally made Piper naked, and I didn't like. I was just going through like like you can switch stuff, and I thought it would just go back, and then I switched, and I looked over, and like, oh.
That's what happened to Preston. For me, but he's wearing like shoulder pads or something, and I'm like, you know what, you're gonna stay this way.
That's too good.
Stand over there. Yeah, that's
like some weird little kid in like a cowboy hat and tidy whities.
He's still got his hat on. He's got his dress.
So look at him. He's cute. He's playing cowboy.
And he's tending to my mud fruit plants. So
as one does.
Did you guys see the trailer?
Oh my God, you're here.
I'm talking about Fallout, so now I have something to talk about. But the trailer for the Wasteland Workshop.
No.
They're showing there's a new thing you can do. You can build these big cages and you can trap like Deathclaws, raiders, and shit, and then you can like set them up so you can have them fight like your settlers and stuff. Yeah, basically. But in the trailer, they're like showing all this really dramatic cuts of like the walls. Like, they're like, look, you can build steel walls now, and they're really cool. And you get this cage, and this is Deathclaw like spray painted on it, over slow and dramatic. And then you see who's fighting the Deathclaw in the pit, and it's Preston. You got all the settlers standing around watching him about to get killed by a Deathclaw. Like they know how much everyone.
Yeah, it's like they know in their trailer. They're like, yeah, you can put Preston in a cage with a Deathclaw.
Are you not entertained? No, I want to put that one bitch who is at Sanctuary, who like every time you walk past is like, what are you doing here? Yeah,
it was like
she's going in there.
Marla,
yeah, that.
Oh, I killed her.
Did you kill
her? You're like, no, I ended that nonsense.
I led that bitch out of town, and I shot her in the face, and I haven't regretted it ever since.
They're like, here, come with me. Here, come with me.
You're like, I didn't even bury her. I just left her in the sun.
Oh, she's still.
I killed her. I killed like her husband guy because he was just some monkey and he wouldn't do anything.
That's her husband.
Maybe that's why she's such a bitch.
But then she's not a bitch. You're just terrible. She's right.
I went back to like their original settlement, the first place that they came from.
I know that one.
And there's like their kid's bedroom. It's all covered in blood.
Yeah, it's
like,
really sad, but it's like
I'm a dick.
Well, the thing is, like,
I tried killing that Debbie Downer that's in Sanctuary too. That dude that's always like, oh, I'm not good for anything. I'm like, God, this guy sucks.
That's her husband.
That's her husband. Yeah. Oh, I hate that guy.
Yeah,
I kill him too.
I know
abused.
It's like I know your life sucks, but she's like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, this is my place. I let you live.
Trash Can
Carla. That's her name.
So, all right. So
what's more appropriate?
So Trash Can Carla, like. She always pissed me off, but whatever. I don't kill any of my settlers.
She's a bitch.
I don't think I'm better than you guys. I'm just saying I didn't kill any of my people. But when you get later on, spoilers for games, but not for one time. When you get to the Institute,
because John's just a good guy.
No, when you you just murder people and leave their bodies in the sun.
Except for that
because they're annoying.
Except for that one time.
When you get to the Institute, if you hack some of the computers, you can like look through all their logs, and in one of the logs they list their informants on the surface.
Yeah.
And Trash Can Carla's an informant for the Institute.
Well,
I was like,
you spoiled that for me.
I didn't even know
I'm totally savage and chose the Institute.
There's a whole bunch of them that I was like, wait, what? Like they're like because they name people.
I want to see this now.
So wait,
I'm
does
gonna find
offing
it.
her affect anything?
I don't know. I didn't go back and kill her, but I was like, that's a cool like wrinkle to add to her character because she's a merchant, so she goes from like town to town.
It makes sense,
and she's informing on people for the Institute. And there's some other people who they, I just told her she was, but they drop other names. I was like, oh, that dude's an informant.
I want to find this,
like, because he's like one of the railroad dudes. I'm like, what?
I wanted to watch the world burn, so I chose the Institute, and I killed the railroad. I destroyed the Fridwin. I just murdered everybody because the Institute offered me a nice home.
I mean, it's a fucking Apple store down there. So.
It is. Not only that, but you teleport there faster than anywhere else. Teleporting to the Fridwin was terrible.
Oh, well, dude, the Brotherhood. Speaking of fucking polo shirt wearing douchebags. Like, that dude, whoever runs that guy. Yeah, like, no, that fucker, that guy, that thing's burning by the end of my run through.
And I just have to let you know, when you kill them, you still get the BOS armor, so...
Yeah. I mean, that's the sad part is, to me, is like, I always usually at least like the Brotherhood and all the other games, but this one, they're just pricks.
I mean, they always come off, they always come off a little fascist.
Yeah, they always come off
like usually.
And I always kind of kept them at an arm's
like, at 3, it was just like...
And 3,
oh, man, you guys just sit in here and like take yourselves real seriously.
Yeah, right. But it's like you think you're like way better than everybody. Like, when's the last time you were outside? Oh, never. That's cool.
We have so many,
you know what you're talking
about. We have so many bottle caps that we can't spend on anything.
But usually comparatively to the other options, Brotherhood's at least one of the better.
I mean, like Brotherhood, like
shit ones.
Brotherhood v Enclave, like you can kind of make the thing, but in Fallout 4, they're kind of just like...
In 4, they're douchebags.
They're kind of like, you know...
No, they're horrible.
The only group in 4 that doesn't really have kind of a we've got it all figured out and kill everybody else is the Minutemen.
That's who I go for.
But they're also, they're the only ones that don't try to get you to kill everybody.
The Institute and the Minutemen can coexist happily.
I think anybody that can coexist with the Minutemen. I literally played the game up to the point, I played all their storylines up to the point before
the point of no return.
The point where the faction that I was doing missions with was like, okay, hey, you know what's a great idea? Killing all those other people. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna go see somebody else now.
That was the first one I wanted to try.
Like, wait, it depends. Who am I killing? Is it Carla? Done.
Yeah. No, it's like,
no, it's not Carla. Well, can I kill her anyways?
Preston? I mean, yeah,
but you wouldn't be mad.
If it turns out that I did.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much did all those factions up to the point where it's like, hey, you know what's a cool next mission? Killing every other faction. And I was like, all right. And then I would go and I got to the point where I just did side missions to the point where my character was just too game-breakingly powerful. And I was like, should I start an alt? And then I got really busy again and didn't play games again.
That happened to me quickly after doing the Institute.
2 now.
You choose the Institute, and then since you kill everyone else, you have a very serious lack of missions. And now I have nothing. I have literally nothing in my quest log. I have to wander around the wasteland and Commonwealth is empty.
There's peace. It sucks.
Yeah, it's horrible. I just have my robots are walking around everywhere, and I'm just like
everybody's dead.
I mean,
humans are dead.
I have my settlements and stuff, but now all of my...
And then Preston's still there.
Yeah, Preston's still there. He still sucks. He's
still in his underwear. It's weird at this point. With his
football shoulder pads on.
Yeah.
I feel like my last big thing to do on that is to find the Chameleon Deathclaw.
What?
But he's invisible.
That.
Well, really? You have my interest now.
There's lots of weird stuff that they left in there.
And I don't know where he is.
I just remember hearing about
in the lake.
I remember hearing about the Museum of Witchcraft and about how there's the badass Deathclaw in there. And
finding that place with a headset, by the way, because all of the I'm a jumpy person, and
I was like, you're gonna take a headset and what?
You don't need to watch the Macho Man Museum.
The Macho Man?
Oh my god!
So there's a mod for Fallout that turns all the Deathclaws into Macho Man.
Macho Man.
And so when you go to the Museum of Witchcraft, I mean, if you've been there, like, you start in the basement, and they do this whole build-up where you hear it upstairs, like, stomping around, and like, and like every time it takes a step, like, dust like shakes out of the floorboards above you. It's a very cool little moment, but when
mine was glitched out, by the way.
When he's like, "Oh yeah,"
you hear
falls to the floor.
Awesome.
Yeah, you hear like the stomping, and it's like, "What a wild!"
Wait, just
Yeah,
the guy was watching in the Let's Play. He kills him before he even touches him, and then he's like flopping all over the place. He's like, I didn't even get a piece of him.
The mouth for that mod is just like.
They're super absurd looking. Yeah,
no, the Macho Man from Fallout 3.
The dragons were scary because they were just like these gangly arms.
I had the dragon that was the Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah, I was going to say something about the Thomas the Tank.
That was the one I had.
Mod. That's
the brief time I had Skyrims. Yep, Thomas the Tank Engine.
Speaking of mods, they're putting the mods out for consoles over the next 2 months, so you can mod officially for Fallout.
I wonder how that's going to actually work.
I think it's just download based.
That's what I can't.
They claimed they were going to open it up to the PC level mod stuff.
The mod stuff's not out yet, though, right?
PC's already out.
PC's always
isn't like the creative kit or something like that,
like
creation kit. It's
so
based off
PC's
of the CRE.
Out now.
CAQ.
Xbox is coming out May, and then June is PS4.
What do you guys think about paid mods?
Yeah.
I feel like I wouldn't use them nearly.
If I knew how to do it, that's what I would be doing right now.
It's something that I would want to be like on the giving end of.
Yeah, that's the thing. It would encourage a lot of people to get into it.
Yeah.
And I think the content would be better.
The content would be better.
In theory, yes.
Less glitchy and more solid.
It would have to be less glitchy and more solid. That's one of the big things about any type of putting out any type of product. Like, if you go on Asset Store or Play Store or iStore or whatever. Any storefront.
Whatever. Right, Grandpa.
The iStore.
For the iPods.
You go to the Apple Store to get your apps.
Kids in your iPod Nano.
For your Commodore.
Kids in your Sony Walkman.
Whatever, you know what I was getting at. Anytime you put it out for pay, then you have something of a responsibility to support it.
Yeah.
Because you have to have some type of avenue to get like refunds and stuff, and people will rate you, and it's not even so much that you do it out of the goodness of your heart, but it's like if you're taking money, you've sold a product, you have to support it.
Yeah.
If it costs like $1, that would be feasible for me, but otherwise I think one of the things that make mods so fun is that I find like 20 different mods, download them all at once, and then the game is just hilarious.
I don't think that would go away at all.
Break anything.
I think that would still...
I feel like I wouldn't pay for 20 mods.
I know, but I don't think it depends. People would still put out free stuff.
It depends.
Yeah.
As long as
it
you
depends on the mod.
Free option out there to put out stuff for free. If you didn't make like a minimum, like you have to charge 99 cents for a mod.
Yeah,
like if as long as the free option was still there, like I think it's great as an option because just like you said, it would encourage more skilled people to actually put some time into it. Whereas now, like, I can't be bothered to make 3D models for Fallout because I can get a contract making the 3D models for somebody else, and it's pretty bad.
Like, why would you?
Why would I not get paid for my time if I can?
I actually have an example from like 2001. The Sims. Believe it or not, The Sims had a huge community for mods. They took a lot of different, the different interactable objects and made the options different. They changed the skins on them and made the Sims do different things. And
there was naked.
Well, there's that, or you could turn your air bar into a hookah or whatever.
You could put some football shoulder pads on them,
or their clothes could, they could look like celebrities, which was really loosely done because they all looked like blobs of pixels anyway. But the thing is, there was a huge community for free mods, and they also had paid mod sites, and that worked out for them.
Were they like EA or Maxis or whatever actually?
Maxis did have, they had mods that you could purchase, or they did have, but it was mostly for them when they had the paid ones. It was more like mini expansions where you could buy a couch set or something. Yeah. But the other mod sets, you would have the options, but you would take the risk of any other mod. Like, it would be glitchy, and like your Sims wouldn't interact with it right. And of course, being a teenage girl in the early 2000s and 90s, I played the hell out of The Sims. So
straightforward, honest, respect that.
I mostly built houses, and it developed from there. And then eventually I got bored and I started doing horrible things to all of my Sims, like taking the ladders out of pools. Yep. Kind of like shooting trash can Carla in the head.
Every time it goes.
It's because it keeps me from doing it in real life.
All right.
No.
Don't ever get
slowly backing out of the room now.
Never get into a pool of Jess.
God.
Or never get into it while she's not in it.
Yeah,
slowly holds head underwater. Just let it happen.
The only thing I have to say about paid mods is really you have to have that there when you launch the game. I don't think that's something that you can implement afterwards.
Fair. Well, because the reason I'm bringing this up is because they tried to introduce that Valve and Bethesda into Skyrim, and the theory is it might happen with Fallout 4 yet. I don't know at this point if that's what people are still thinking, but I've heard it proposed.
I mean, at a certain point, it involves the developer with a paid mod, which is the part of the problem. Because they kind of have to sign off on certain ones. They kind of have to prove that they're, especially because if they're going to get some kind of cut, or who's going to get the money and how much are they going to get out of it. Because that's another big argument against paid mods, because there's a potential for the cash grab there where people are just like, yeah, it's a paid mod, and Valve's going to take 30% for being on the storefront, Bethesda's going to take 40% because it's their game and it wouldn't exist without it, and the tax is going to take 20% and 30%, and then you made a paid mod that's $10 and you get $1. And
I still think it helps to maintain interest in a game that's otherwise a little bit dead.
Well, then that's the argument for DLC, straight up. I mean, that's what paid mods, DLC is basically paid mods.
Because
but it's coming right from the source, so they know that it works with their stuff. They're using their internal team to create the stuff.
Right.
But I mean, that's literally what DLC is, paid modifications to the game.
For Fallout 4, for me, or any Bethesda game really, my problem is that I tend to rush the storyline. And when I rushed the storyline in Fallout 4, it got rid of a lot of my side quests. And
I'm exactly the opposite.
And, well, that's the thing is, I try not. It's like I know the objective is to sit there and get distracted by the side missions, but I want the story. I want to, and I rush it. And then when I finish the story, I always end up with a faction that doesn't have any quests, or whatever happens, and my quest log is all of a sudden empty, and I haven't played Fallout in 3 months.
That's my problem. I crushed it in like 2 weeks, and then I did it for like 3 months.
And it's like, well, crap. And there's no way you can go back unless you re-level something, and sometimes you just don't feel like doing that. Like for me, I don't want to start all the way from the beginning again because it was just.
When it's like an actual
weak and squishy.
When it's a
huge
journey,
It's like where everything is at a certain point. So when you re-level, if they were a little more random and like I was to re-level a character and the power suits were in a different place, or there were not even different factions to work with, but like the settlements would be in a different order, or any kind of randomized objects there would be fantastic. But in all actuality, the storyline's exactly the same until you pick your faction at almost the very end of the game, and that's why I haven't re-rolled a new character. Because I'd have to play for another umpteen amount of hours in order to get to that point. And the rest of the game's the same until then.
Just keep a save game. Just poised it when you show up at Diamond City.
And I know that now. And I did go to Diamond City right away like you told me to, and that did help a lot. But
yeah, that was one of I realized that like 12 hours into the game, I had just been wandering around the Northlands. I was like, you know what? I should go to the Diamond City place that the game keeps telling me to go to. And I went there. I was like, oh, damn it. I should have done this like first thing. Because all the interesting characters show up there. Like, you're just wandering around. Piper and like a lot of interesting Nick, and a lot of the interesting storylines come out of there, and there's a lot of cool side quests that come out of that location.
That's where the world flushes out there.
It's really the hub location. I mean, it is that way on purpose. It's right in the middle of the map. It kind of leads you,
you mean they designed it that way?
Yeah, and all the side missions send you to every corner of the map from Diamond City. So if you just wander around up top, like all the side quests you find up there are kind of proximate to they don't want to you don't get a side mission in the north part of the map that sends you to like the southeast corner that's a million miles away by foot.
They're like, hey, there's these raiders that are bothering us.
Hey, there's a settlement in danger.
Well, that's the settlement stuff, and I hadn't even started any of the settlement stuff since then.
And as involved as all the characters are, I kind of wish, Piper and Nick, they both have such meaty roles in the game. And then once you get them as followers, it's like...
They die off.
Yeah, they're just nothing. Like, Nick is sitting in my castle settlement tending to bushes. And I wish...
tutu.
Which some would argue that's an amazing character development.
But he was such a cool character.
Yeah, he had his own quest and everything.
I wish that they would have given him more content, and Piper too. Like, just more content in general.
That happens with a lot of those characters.
At the same time, though, like, they do have side quests that come out of being your follower. I mean, when you become the follower and you dismiss them to a settlement, they kind of become robots, which is disappointing. I get that.
Yeah.
Same thing happened, with Stardew Valley, I believe. The guys were talking about it a few weeks ago.
I lost Codsworth for a while because they let him be a supply line.
I couldn't find dog meat.
Well,
the thing is, I found him, but the thing is, like, once I sent him to someone because I had Piper, up until somebody said, like, yeah, just look for the doghouse. And it's like all the way in the far end, like in the corner.
I couldn't find him because he helped me with that one quest where he like searches out, and he was outside of the building, and after that he disappeared. He didn't go to any doghouse until they did an update, and all of a sudden he was back. And
some dude wrote a long article
I'm
about
lone wolf too.
I love dog meat.
He basically went to one of the far ends of the map and dismissed Dogmeat as a follower and sent him back to Sanctuary, and then proceeded to follow him from a distance all the way back, because they don't just fast travel back to Sanctuary.
Yeah, I know, they walk.
They actually cross the map over time, and they get into their own little shenanigans on the way. So that's where sometimes people are like, I lost him, and then they show up like, well, yeah, you just thought he was going to show up there immediately. That's not how they work. They actually go walk away, and they have to cross the map.
Dogmeat was missing for days.
And so he... So he basically started this whole thing where he had like a sniper rifle, and he was just like just scoping them from deep, just like watching what he got into, and he watched him get in fights with like wildlife and like chase like a freaking deer like in the woods. Saw him like fighting raiders, and then like get taken down, and then he started like picking off all the raiders from the deep, and like until Dogmeat got back up, and like he can't die, but he went down, and like the raiders like kept like pounding on him, so he just started picking on him from deep, picking him off from deep to like clear the way. And then he wrote, like, you can go look it up online, he wrote an article about his basically
the adventures
of Dogmeat, like
Tales of an immortal dog.
What happens to the dog if you don't like give him orders or have him following you? Like, what does he get into on his own? And there was some funny, like, some weird little things happened.
That's pretty cool.
I think at one point he like glitched into like a car, and he had to like go get him out of it. And, like, but yeah, it was a lot of
maybe that's what happened to my Dogmeat. He glitched into a car, and then he just stayed there.
I ran into this one dog that was up in the northern part, and it's like one of those like what are they called? The ones that are all irradiated and they're gross.
Mutant dogs
mongrels or whatever.
The mutated
or whatever. You could like name it and everything, but then you're like, hey, you want to come with me? And it's just like, okay. And then it doesn't. It just stays. I'm like, this dog is so ugly and cool looking. I want it.
Yeah.
And you can like dismiss your follower, and then it just stays there.
Oh, I found.
Just walk around this little circle.
I found two dogs. Like it was like Masha and Sasha or something. I don't remember, but up on a bridge. And they had some badass dog armor, and I was like, oh my god, please let me take these and like bring them home or something. But then I had to kill them and put their armor on Dogmeat, of course, because they wouldn't follow me. So.
So obviously that's what you did.
Obviously.
They did an interesting thing with New Vegas with the dog, with Dogmeat. So in New Vegas, Dogmeat is like partially robotic.
Cool.
He's got like his back legs are like robotic, and on the top of his head, it's like cut open to like a clear dome, and there's like a brain in there, and you can like see it. And the rest of him looks like a dog, and he's your dog, and you have a follower and him. Which is one of the things that bummed me out about 4. You couldn't
part of that story.
I'm getting to it, probably. I'm just saying I was bummed out at what they did with 4, because in every other Bethesda game, you can have a dog and a follower. And in Fallout 4, Dogmeat counts as a follower. You can't have both. And I was always bummed out about
Except you can still have your lone perk with Dogmeat, and it counts.
Right, but I never rocked Lone Survivor, and actually I had a lot of perks that were beneficial to me for having a companion.
Yeah.
So actually, it was actually worse for me to have Dogmeat.
I chose the lone one because I feel like every time I have a follower or companion in any game, they glitch out, because I'm just like, I'm a magnet for that crap for some reason. My companion will like die when it's not supposed to actually be able to die, or get stuck in a wall and I have to reset, or anything happens.
Well, I definitely I actually really enjoyed the companions before. They did it better in New Vegas from 3, and they did it better in this from New Vegas. But anyway, just real quick about the dog. The way they treated the dog in New Vegas was, instead of like armors or whatever, there was a thing where once you found a certain settlement, there was this kind of really, bad brain surgeon there. And when you found other dogs in the world, like Masha and Sasha or whatever, some of them, when you killed them, like if they were named like badass dogs, you could take their brain. and then take dog meat back to the surgeon and have him swap the brains out and put the other dog's brain in it, and they would have different personalities. They had different so if you took like a guard dog, dog meat would play very defensive. If you took like an attack dog, they would have like increased damage on bite.
So
and
I just have to say that's worse than killing Trash Can Carla.
That sounds horrifying.
Because you definitely kill dog meat every time.
How that starts off. This is like that old, she's like a cat lady, but she just has a shitload of dogs, and you like pick one out, and she's like, okay, and then it like fades to black, and you hear like the dog dying in the background.
Oh my god!
And then they give you the brain, and I was like, oh,
that's one way to get it. That's one way to get a new brain for it, but it doesn't have to be that way. But it was interesting because you could like change its personality by like doing it. So it gave you like some options to switch it and play with weird stuff.
That's horrifying.
Because you couldn't take it was a robot, whatever.
There was a lot of fun stuff in that one that they didn't carry over, I feel like.
Well,
that's what New Vegas
the blue super mutants.
Stuff,
I don't remember what they were called. They were the ones that got all like fucked up on Stealth Boys, and
oh yeah,
they had like an addiction to them. And
oh god!
There's like that one that was crazy. He's like way off by himself, and you like walk into this like corral, and there's all these like tumbleweeds in there, and he calls them like wind Brahmins, and he just appears. He's like, you have to buy one or you die. And you have to pay him like $200 for like a tumbleweed.
It's like,
or like kick your ass. And I'm like, oh, okay.
All right. That tumbleweed looks pretty sweet.
Thank you, sir.
The NCR needs to come back because I love the NCR.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I really did like what they did with the Fallout 4 companions and how
they did feel a little fleshed out.
They did something like they did with in New Vegas. They added where if you got to a certain level of like they loved you or whatever, you get unlocked certain perks. But in Fallout 4, they took the Mass Effect route where when they got to a certain level of like trust and like respect, they would basically start confiding in you basic stuff, and then it would unlock like their companion like mission, and it becomes like an actual story mission that was pretty well fleshed out, at least for the one or two that I did. And you have to complete that mission to then unlock their perk. And so Kate was my main companion. I had her. She's like a drunken kind of cage fighter type character, and she was my main kind of companion throughout most of the game. And at a certain point, she basically confides in you that she's like a complete drug addict, and like the whole time you're with her, she's just using every drug possible that you find and all that stuff. But she like wants to get clean and stuff, and you have to do this whole freaking long thing to like go get her clean. And
she's got like a pile of jet in her purse. It's just
pretty much. Well, and once you kind of see that, like it's a cool thing where every once in a while you look over and you'll catch her like shooting up or taking like huffs off like the jet like inhaling or whatever, and anytime you like drink or do drugs in front of her, she gives like she's like it says like Kate like that.
Oh
like,
god.
But then you do this whole long mission where she tells you all these horrible stories about her growing up, and she infers kind of that she killed her parents because they were abusive, and like this whole kind of crazy thing, and like that's why she started doing drugs. You do this whole thing where you get her clean, it unlocks this crazy perk, but then from then on out, if you do drugs or drink in front of her, she like doesn't like it. She's like, "What are you doing? Like this is fucking."
So then she becomes a hypocrite.
But I made her carry my beer everywhere.
Here's my 30
because my character was addicted to alcohol. And so anytime I fast traveled, my effects would wear off.
Congratulations on being a year sober. Carry my beer.
Yeah, pretty much carry my beer. And anytime I got when you fast travel, like alcohol and drugs are like time related, and in the game's world, like whenever you travel someplace, that time has passed. Like it jumps ahead, like how long it would take you to walk there. So anytime I go to a new place, it would have anytime I showed up, it's like your alcohol's worn off. You're going through withdrawal. Literally every time I fast travel, it's like, bitch, give me a beer. She'd be like, here you go. And like crack that. All right, now my luck's up, my strength's up, charisma's up. All right, let's ready to run.
Holy crap!
I really like that story.
Well, because I got another perk that also gave me additional luck for drinking with a companion, and so even though she was straight edge now, like I had to drink with her to get the perk. So
yeah, this is your character, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, no. I thought she was awesome. There's you can take it to more levels where you can start hooking up with them, and like they become there's a romance, and they become
Lovers Embrace.
Yeah, Lovers Embrace. Actually, Lovers Embrace is a great perk. Yeah. It's a great perk, and her other one, I think it's called like Trigger Rush or something. That like anytime you're with her and your VATS drops below like a certain percentage, like it comes back faster. So yeah, there's lots of benefits the game adds onto these, and it led to some fun little stories and whatnot with all that kind of weird being addicted to things. So anyway, I think on that note, we should probably wrap her up for this week.
On your alcohol.
Well, I mean,
drink. I
haven't had. We're approaching happy hour.
Kesterson's the one putting away the beers right now.
I'm drinking seltzer for
the all right.
We didn't even get to Titanfall, and that was like our first.
Yeah, that was the first thing we were going to talk about.
The podcast and record.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it was fun stuff.
We talk about
Titanfall in the next bit. So we have the BGS Showcase coming up on May 14th. Come over here. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a party. And we'll be showing off locally made games and lots of cool things. So definitely put that on the calendar and come out. We've got workshops and showing with the Mini Maker Fair at the Science Museum next weekend on May 7th. As always, we have all of our calendar up on the meetup page. Follow us at Buff Gamespace on Twitter. Check out our Facebook account and all that fun stuff. And if you have any other questions or interest in the podcast, you want to ask us what's going on or suggest a topic, you can always send a message to info@buffalogamespace.com, and we'll get that at some point and integrate your suggestions as we see fit. So thanks as always for the support, and thanks for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time.
Bye.
Hell yeah. Yeah, good to go.